Hello, everyone. Welcome to Huddle Up Podcast. And it sounds a little different, and it looks a little different, but I promise you the spirit of the thing is exactly the same. Not a live show. This is a recorded show, but I am here with Mike Bernier. He is a good friend. Constantly, we talk sports together. We are part of the Take 3 Wrestling podcast together. Fellow Washington Capitals fan and fellow hockey fan. So I felt it only appropriate as we head in to the last week here before the NHL season officially begins. Mike, that we get together and do this thing. It is the first annual, hopefully, Huddle Up Podcast NHL season preview. As we get ready for the NHL season, we're going to be doing a few things on this episode. We are going to be did Tom Brady's arm just explode?
Fumble. I don't know if it exploded or not.
Okay, he looked like he was grabbing his arm. For the record,
that's why I grimaced at first.
For the record, as we're recording this, it is Sunday night, October the 2nd. We are both watching.
He definitely grabbed his elbow.
The Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs. So yeah, he got hit pretty hard. So if you see us get distracted on the video, because this will be on the YouTube page, otherwise it will be on all podcast platforms. You will. That is why we get distracted at times. Shiny objects,
I would also like to state for the record, because I know a good friend of the show and portion of the NFL version, Mr. Ernest Christian, will listen to this. My wife was like, "Hey," my wife goes, "Hey, where's my tool bag?" And I go, "Ernest ain't here."
That's a question I don't know if a wife has ever asked a husband. But that's a whole nother story for a whole separate podcast.
I don't fix things. Carol's the handy woman.
But yeah, we're going to be looking at point total over-unders, because in the National Hockey League, it's a little bit different than baseball, football, basketball, because obviously with a overtime win, you collect an extra point. So we will be looking at that. We're also, as we are both Washington Capitals fans, we're going to kind of do a state of the franchise, in light of them being in our nation's capital, and see where the Capitals stand up. Where we are 4 years removed from the Washington Capitals Stanley Cup run of 2018, and we're going to look to see if with some of the offseason changes, if we think that they're going to be have any opportunity to win the Stanley Cup. And then, of course, we'll be giving our Stanley Cup predictions at the end of the show. So excited to have you here, Mike, for this one. And hopefully it won't be the last time we are talking hockey on this show.
Yeah, I hope not either, man. I'm appreciative of getting to hang out, and we're going to have some fun with it. And we're going to dabble along from there and see if we can make the hockey part of everything moving forward.
Absolutely. Now, before we jump in, one of the bigger, probably one of like the biggest changes from last year to this year, because I don't think there was really any major rule changes, anything like that. But we saw it during the pandemic, the bubble season and the empty arena seasons. We saw helmet ads for the first time in the National Hockey League. Now, this season is the first time that we will see a jersey sponsor on some of the team uniforms. I don't know if every team is eventually going to participate. There has been, I think, about 10 or so teams: Arizona, Boston, Columbus, Minnesota, Montreal, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Toronto, Vegas, Washington, and Winnipeg have announced their jersey sponsors for the year. But it's like a small patch, top right corner of the front of the jersey, the Capitals for their home jerseys, and their blue third jerseys, it is the Caesar Sportsbook. Which, if you, I know you're in Florida now, but if you ever get to Capital One Arena at the phone booth there, the former phone booth, I guess.
Phone booth. It'll always be called.
You can't walk 6 feet without seeing some sort of ad for Caesar Sportsbook, because there is a sportsbook in one portion of the arena. So makes sense for them to be the jersey sponsor. I know a lot of hockey fans have gotten kind of bent out of shape about the jersey sponsors. To me, man, I like maybe just I'm so used to going to minor league hockey games and minor league baseball games and stuff like that that it doesn't phase me one bit. I mean, I've been going Hershey Bears games since it's as long as I can remember. They've had PA Blue Cross Blue Shield as their jersey sponsors. So like maybe I'm just so accustomed to it that it doesn't bother me. Does it impact you at all? The jersey sponsor?
I could give two fucks if you want to put a Timmy Hose logo on a Canadian jersey or not, to be honest with you. Yeah, no. Anyone who's sitting here worried about players putting a patch on, like, it'd be different if like players were putting like individual patches, like, oh, Alexander Ovechkin sponsored by everyone, so
Right.
his whole thing's just going to be just basically a patch. It's not even going to be like the logo or anything. It's just going to be patches. Like, I get it, but team doing it, it's like basketball. The Celtics with the GE logo. You know the and friend of the show, Craig, so we're sitting on the couch watching the game. It is definitely a financial
Oh,
thing,
it's definitely a money grab. I mean,
but it's
there's
also but at the end of the day, if every other league is going to do it,
yeah. Oh yeah,
I'm
we've
not
seen it in the
gonna.
NBA for years now. I don't think it's long before we see it. Well, Major League Baseball, I think, starting next season, they're allowed a jersey sleeve patch.
Mhm.
I don't think we're long until the NFL has them. I've said since the when the Rams unveiled their new uniforms last year, they have that little patch on the left front of the jersey
Yep,
that has just as Los Angeles Rams. I'm like, you know what that is?
that's a
That's a
placeholder.
test for a jersey sponsor.
That's a
Um,
placeholder.
yeah, without question, that was the first thing I thought of when I saw that. So, yeah, it doesn't bother me, man. Like, and the thing I've often said too, like, if tickets are expensive enough. Like if them selling helmet sponsors and jersey sponsors and a couple more sponsor ads on the ice itself is going to keep the tickets from getting any higher, I'm all in favor of it. So not a big deal to me. When I'm watching it on TV, you're going to barely be able to see him anyway, unless they show a close up of a guy on the bench on TV. So to me, really a non-issue. But yeah, let's go ahead now, Mike, and jump in here to the point totals. We'll work in alphabetical order. It's the easiest way to do it. um and we'll start in Anaheim. The Ducks last year finished 76 points in the regular season. The kind of benchmark here, the over under is set at 78 and a half for the Ducks. Mike, what do you think? Over or under 78 and a half?
Is Gordon Bombay coaching them this year?
Man, I think he actually has his knee flared up again, so I think he's taking the year off.
I will take I don't know that 78 and a half is obtainable. I know they have a date with the defending Stanley Cup champions, a bunch over there in the Western Conference of the Avalanche, who we'll talk about here in a little while. I'm going to go under, but I could see them getting there depending on how the rest of the Western Conference kind of shakes out, because I know there's some question marks there. I don't love this line, by the way. I kind of hate this line. Like, this is one of those where it's like they could really end up with 79, or they could end up with 77 real easily.
Yeah, well, and I think we'll see that with quite a few teams. But yeah, I don't. The Ducks are one of those weird organizations where they kind of came out of nowhere a couple decades ago, won a Stanley Cup, dissolved everything, put it all back together. I can't. Did they win a second cup, or they? I know they made it to a final. Um, and then since then they've kind of just been floating in mediocrity again. So, it's really just hard to tell. But I think they're really kind of a confusing organization that
They only,
sometimes they
they
look
only won
really
one Stanley Cup, by the way.
okay. Yeah, I remember they made it back to a final, but I couldn't remember um, if they had finished it off. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with you. I think we're looking at a slight under. Obviously, you can get on a hot run every now and again, but I don't see them being a dominant force. All right, let's go to, and I still can't believe I'm saying this, the University of Arizona State, where the Arizona Coyotes are taking home this year in the 5,500 seat arena that the Arizona State Sun Devils play in. 57 points last year, Mike. 66.5 is your over-under this year. Go ahead.
Did they pick up like goaltending and scores this?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I don't know where they're getting. This many points.
Very confused on what just happened. Like what? Yeah, no. Also, can we just move this team back to Quebec?
Oh my God! Anywhere, Quebec, Hartford, fucking anywhere that gives a crap about the game of hockey.
Hold on, I'm looking up their transactions right now. So
yeah, I just pulled them up. Like, there's nobody on this list that screams to me. You know, they got Bukestad from Minnesota.
Josh Brown.
Yeah, I mean, Jonas Johansson from Colorado. Like,
Jean-Sebastien D.
You know, they lost a veteran presence in Phil Kessel. Like, I don't see what about anybody that they acquired screams almost 10 more points in the season.
I mean, unless you're telling me that Logan Cooley and Connor Geeky, the two kids they drafted at 3 and 11, are going to be offensive goal scorers as centers coming in on their rookie year, but still, that's 66 is a lot.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go under. I mean, if these kids come up and you know let it eat, like maybe, but I'm not. I have no faith that's gonna happen.
yeah. I mean, you got to hope youth continues to develop, but 10 points, basically 10 points, because you know if they're going to go over here, they're going to be 10 points better than last year. That's a tall task for a team that, yeah, like I said, they're playing in a college arena, and I don't know, dude. Maybe we're totally wrong on this, and maybe the students of Arizona State are going to show up and do keg parties in the stands. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, like at least it would be a ruckus environment at that point, because
That's what I'm saying. Because, dude, could you imagine if you'd been in college and they would have told you an NHL franchise is playing on campus 40 games a year? That would have been freaking great for me.
oh yeah,
But we will certainly see how that plays out. All right, let's go to Boston. The Bruins last year finished with 107 points. This year, the over-under line set a little bit lower, 95.5.
I'm looking at their transactions right now to see if there's anything that I love. They got David Krejci back, or was that no? That was the end of last year.
I believe is he?
No, it's just now, August 8th. They signed him.
Yeah. He re-signed for the year.
So they didn't do anything great in free agency. I think they were a team that was kind of strapped with salary cap constrictions. But you know, Patrice Bergeron's coming back like always. So, what's the number?
It's 95.5.
Are they the favorites in the East by that?
I think they're up there. I mean, I think they're considered to be a playoff team. I don't know if they're a favorite. I mean, I know on this list that I'm looking at, it looks like Carolina. Well, no, they have Toronto as the highest point, the point taken. Now that doesn't take playoffs into account, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have Carolina and Toronto definitely ahead of them. Florida as well. So they're near the top of the pack overall.
So the common theme here, when you think about this, the divisions. You mentioned Carolina, you mentioned Florida. DC is going to be in that division, as is Tampa Bay. Toronto's really the only, like super like strong team that Boston
in the Atlantic, for Boston in the Atlantic, you have Boston, Buffalo, Detroit, Florida, Montreal, Ottawa, Tampa, Toronto.
Division.
Yeah, they're in the Atlantic with Boston.
That's stupid. Like, why wouldn't you put them in the same division as Tampa? Like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm gonna go slightly under.
I'm going to disagree on this one. I think they're going to go slightly over. They have a similar roster to last year. You got Krejci back. You have Bergeron back for another year. I mean, Florida's going to smack you around a bit. Tampa, Toronto, but I think if you can hang around, you're going to get near that 100-point mark. There's also a lot of bad teams in that division. Buffalo, Detroit, Montreal, they're bad. Ottawa's going to be a toss-up. We'll obviously get to them here in a minute. But yeah, I think Boston can do enough within that division that I think they can get slightly over. I don't know if they're going to get back to the 107 they had a year ago.
No, I don't think
But
that's
96, 97, 98, might be a slight over there. Buffalo, speaking of bad teams in that division, Buffalo 75 points a year ago, 78.5 is your over under for the Sabres.
78.5. The fuck? What the fuck are we doing? 41-year-old Craig Anderson is the only goaltender right now. Currently
Not
active.
great.
Currently
Not
active.
great.
No. Malcolm Suppan, the 28-year-old Canadian, is currently injured, so he's not active on that roster. Yeah, they're not good. They're not going to be good. I'm good on the under on this one. Yeah, not good.
Yeah, and it's weird because there's a few points like last year where Buffalo, like the Caps would go into Buffalo and lose like 4-1, but then again, Capitals goaltending last year was a nightmare. So
Not all.
there's points where Buffalo looks like they're getting everything in line. But I just don't see it. I don't. I think they're going to continue to struggle. I'll go a slight under as well with you, Mike. Yeah, I don't think I think they're going to be the same, basically the same they were.
Yeah, they're gonna be mid at best.
Yeah, that's a great assessment. All right, let's go to Calgary, our first team north of the Canadian border for this prediction. We have last year they were at 111 points. This year the over under line is 102.5.
I am going to take the over. I'm going to snap over because I believe the addition of Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar from Florida will be a big addition to them. I get it. They gave up Matthew Tkachuk, but I don't necessarily know that Tkachuk really fit the offense that they wanted to run. Huberdeau and Weegar both fit the scheme that Daryl Sutter likes to play with. They also, they got a couple other really good pieces there, and I think that this team is just gelling more and more and more. Did they lose? I don't think they lost anybody really big this offseason, right?
I don't.
Besides Tkachuk.
Yeah, I don't believe so. Let me pull them up quick here just to verify.
Johnny Gaudreau signed with Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, Goodbranson, Gaudreau, some of the bigger names, but nobody really jumping off the page. Cal Yarncroc was solid, but again, nobody that I think is going to move the line.
Gaudreau's the only one that may hurt, but the addition of Weegar and Huberdeau, I think, limit the damage there. So I think that this one's a snap over for me.
Yeah, I agree. They're one of those teams that was a feel good story last year. I think they're going to continue to be. And yeah, I'm gonna take the over here.
They're also another one that's in a really bad division.
Yes,
Anaheim, the Kings, the Kraken.
Yeah, there's a lot of garbage in that division, so they're going to be able to beat up on them. And a team we're going to talk about here in a couple seconds or a couple minutes that won the Stanley Cup a year ago is not going to. I don't think is going to be as strong. So I think Calgary has a possibility to take home ice completely in the Western Conference. So that'll be the thing to watch for them. I don't think it's a question of beating that 102.5. All right, Carolina last year, 116 points. The Hurricanes Had one home ice in the Eastern Conference. 103.5 is your over underline for Carolina.
They had what last year?
They had 116 last year,
It's
and
103.
103.5 is your number.
I'm gonna take the over, but I'm gonna say barely. I don't love the fact that they lost Max Domi. I don't love the fact that they lost Vincent Trocheck, Nino Niedermeyer, guys like that. But they did acquire, Brett Burns to help with the defense as he goes for a Stanley Cup. Lane Pedersen, Max Pacioretty. So they got guys to fill those gaps of the guys that left. I think Trocheck's going to be the biggest loss that they probably have all season. But I still think that this team, Sebastian Aho, Frederick Anderson, once he gets healthy, to pair up with Ranta, that goaltending is pretty damn strong. And the young guys that they have are just getting better. Teravayan, so I think that this is an over, but I could see it being like down to the wire.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. It's these guys are like a gnat that you can't get rid of. Like they hang around, and they do seem to be improving. Yeah, as long as they stay healthy, I think they're gonna hit this over a little bit. I don't think I don't think they're gonna be as good. I don't think they're gonna get to that 116 mark like they did a year ago.
No, I'm thinking like 110-ish.
Especially because early on, I think they're gonna struggle. I think finding themselves with the new roster is going to be big because they did lose a fair portion. Like you mentioned some of the gains they got back, but I'll go slide over on Carolina at that 103.5. The Chicago Blackhawks, 68 points a year ago. 66.5 is your over under for the Chicago Blackhawks.
I'm looking at their losses and gains from the offseason. They lost good friend Brett Connolly as he went over to Switzerland.
It looked like there was a lot of movement, a decent movement out of Chicago. Alex DeBrincat moved to Ottawa. They got a lot of picks back. I mean, I think the big theme here in Chicago right now is tear down and rebuild, and I think that's what we're seeing, which has kind of been the story over the last few years. They've gotten a lot of youth, both in players and coaching. A lot of no names on the additions. I think the only name I really recognize on additions from a year ago, Max Domi and Jack Johnson.
And it's old Jack Johnson. It's not
right.
So, what was it? 66.5.
Yeah, 66.5.
I'm gonna go under.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really am. I'm with you. I think
I was trying so hard to find a way to not.
Can I get the over? Can I get the over? Come on, give me the over. I think what's the phrase? You got to hit rock bottom before you start to go up, and I think that's where we're at.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to rock bottom.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the reigning defending Stanley Cup champions of the world, the Colorado Avalanche, 119 points a year ago, 110.5. Mike, is your over under. Obviously, one of the biggest losses to Colorado is their goaltender. He is now in Washington, which we will talk about in a little bit.
He's not the only one losing Andre Burakovsky to Seattle.
Yeah, Darcy Kemper now with Washington. Jack Johnson gone. Nazem Kadri gone. That's right. He's in Calgary. That was another big addition for the Flames. But a lot of offseason movement for a team winning their first Stanley Cup in a very long time.
Let's not forget that a lot of those moves then made the 8-year contract for Nathan McKinnon.
Very true.
Happen. They kind of panicked. I felt like, oh, we've lost a lot. Let's at least sign Nate So we know we got him to build around for the next 8 years. They lost a lot, and they didn't really fill in the holes that well. What is it? You said 108?
It's 110.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna go slightly under.
For me, I think I might go with, man, it's tough. Like they did lose a lot. They have a
But
few really good teams.
hold on. I didn't notice that they actually acquired Alexander Georgiev, the goalie from.
Dude, have you seen him in the preseason at all? He looks like he couldn't stop a beach ball right now. Which I get. Preseason, much like any sport, you can't take too much stock in the preseason, so not going to overreact to it. But he has not looked. He has not looked sharp. We'll call that. We'll say that's the word. He has not looked
But I
sharp.
don't necessarily know that I love Pavel Francouz.
Yeah, yeah. St. Louis is really good. Winnipeg's good. Minnesota's good. Nashville got strong at the end. Yeah, I was trying to make a case for the over because I feel like we're agreeing a lot here.
Yeah.
But I can't do it. I can't do it. I think they've lost a lot from last season to this season, but we will see. I think they open. I forget who they open with, but obviously they'll be raising a banner here in a little over a week. Let's go to Columbus. 81 points a year ago for the Columbus Blue Jackets. 79.5 is your over under for this one.
I am going to go over. I think the addition of Goudreau and Branson are good acquisitions. I know they lost Oliver Bjorkstrand to Seattle, but other than that, they didn't lose a lot. Cam Johnson, but he signed with an AHL team.
Yeah, I'm looking here, man. Definitely looks like they've added more than they lost.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go over. My only fear with them and not getting the over is they have to play Columbus, they have to play DC, they got to play Philly, they got to play Pittsburgh, the Rangers. It's one of those things where if they were in that division in the Atlantic with say take out Florida and put them in the other, and maybe there's more, but I'm gonna go over just because I think even if it's a slight over, I think that they're more in play this year than they have been in the past.
We finally hit a disagree, Mike. I think they and that's the scary part is they've gotten better. But I think the division around them has also gotten better. Yes, there's a couple bad teams here. New Jersey, the Islanders are a question mark. The Flyers are going to be flaming hot garbage on wheels. But otherwise, Washington's gotten better. New York's gotten better. Pittsburgh's kind of retooling. Carolina's really good. Like this is the Metro is the toughest division in the NHL.
Yeah.
To me, there's no debate on it. So Columbus, they've gotten better, but I feel like they're going to be one of those teams that struggles to find their identity early, and that's going to cost them point wise towards the end. So I will go a slight over or a slight under, on Columbus. All right, Dallas Stars, 98 points a year ago. And the over under for the Dallas Stars for this year, 92.5.
I'm looking at this roster and there's nothing that's like
who are these people?
There's like nothing that's like, hey, you got to take the over here. Like there's just nothing that's like 33-year-old Jamie Benn is the captain. Like
Yeah.
Anton Khudobin, good goalie. Jake Odinger, the backup. I don't know anything about him. Like,
there's a whole lot of who the hell are these guys on this Dallas Stars team?
Who the hell is this guy? And the guys they lost, there's no one like that jumps off the page. It's like, wow, we really lost this guy. Damn, how are we going to rebuild?
Yeah,
I'm going to say under just because I don't know that they can match the chemistry they had last year.
Yeah, and they've had a tumultuous couple of years. They were right there near the top a couple years ago. And it just because they were in the finals in the bubble, right?
Was it? Were they in the
Yeah,
finals?
they were in the finals. Yeah, they were in the finals in the bubble. Which again, that was obviously a really strange year because you had the big layoff at the onset of the pandemic. But yeah, that's because I was like, I remember them being like near the top not long ago, and it was they made it to the finals. They lost to Tampa Bay.
Yep.
But since then, it just you realize that was kind of a moment in time sort of a situation. So
Well, look, they get to the bubble. They get to the finals. The next season, they score 60 points, finish fifth in their division, and then last year they run it back up to 98. Like,
yeah, and they're
okay,
they're hot and cold.
This year starts in an even year. Yeah, under.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. Even if it's just slight, they're young. They're a developing team. The Detroit Red Wings a year ago, they were 74 points. This year's over under for the Red Wings in their quest to try to make it back to the postseason for the first time in a long time. 84.5 is your over under for the Detroit Red Wings.
You want to know why it's so high?
Because they signed everybody.
They signed an entire new roster.
Yeah, they really did. They signed, holy crap,
20 guys.
12 on the 13th. They signed a handful more of the next couple of weeks. Over 20 new players. Now, obviously, some of those guys are going to end up in Grand Rapids and whatnot. But, yeah, my God, a bunch of free agent signings. They also added a couple of more to some re-up deals. Billy Huso being one of those, the goaltender. But yeah, a whole new look to the Detroit Red Wings, Mike. So what are you thinking here? 84.5.
It's a lot though. Like, even if this team takes 3 or 4 weeks to gel together, 84 is a lot coming from what, 66 last season?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus. So that means you're telling me that they're going to be 6 wins better?
Yep.
At least.
Yeah, because to get to 85, you're looking 5 wins and an overtime loss.
I'm going to go slightly under just because of the division.
Okay.
Tampa, Toronto, Florida, Boston.
Yeah.
It's not. And here's the thing: if these guys gel together when we get back from the All-Star break, and they go on a run, like, I could see it. But if it takes them that long to get rhythm and get going together, like, there's going to be some games where they should have won that end up in OT losses, or they lose outright and don't get any points. So I think it's closer. Like this one might be one of those lines that's actually a good line.
Yeah, this feels pretty good. I think this is a good.
Yeah,
this is a hard one to, like, if you're betting, this is a hard one to bet.
Yeah,
I think they have the number really close.
Well, here's the thing: our good friend, student of the game, Mr. Kyle Nash, says, "Don't bet it." This is one where if I'm sitting in Vegas trying to bet lines, don't bet it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go that slight under too. Tough division to be in, but like you said, sometimes those youthful teams will go on one of those hot runs in December or March that you don't really see coming, and they'll overperform. But I'm not expecting them to do it. Could they do it? Absolutely. There's a lot of talent on that roster, looking up and down. I mean, Andrew Kopp, David Perron, Jacob Verana was finally starting to come on last year for him. former Capital there. So there's talent on this team. It's just a matter
Correct.
of if they can put it together. All right, the Edmonton Oilers, 104 points a year ago. The over/under line 103.5. So they're basically keeping the Edmonton Oilers about exactly where they were a year ago, Mike.
I will take the over. I don't necessarily love the fact that they got rid of Zach Cassian to Arizona. I don't love it, but Jack Campbell's here. They picked up Calvin Pickard, Ryan Murray. They only lost really Duncan Keith into retirement.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I don't think he was a huge contributor a year ago by any stretch.
Other than that, they didn't really lose anybody, I think, of that much merit. And it's another year of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins played really well down the stretch for them. Those three guys are going to help propel that offense. And the problem is we have had a lot of teams in the Metropolitan Division that we've made the comment, can't give them wins against some of these teams, because they're going to go back and forth. The Pacific is kind of the exact opposite of that. Anaheim, who we talked about, not that good.
Nope.
You don't know what Calgary Flames team you're going to get. The Kraken still as a second-year team. We don't know what we're getting from them.
Yeah, I mean, I know they had some guys, but it's
Vegas, who we're going to talk about. Like, they're a question mark. One year they're good, the next year they suck. I think the Pacific is the division where you can sneak some wins very quickly in that division. So I'm going to go over, even if it's just 104 again. But I think this team's a little bit more closer to like the 108 to 110.
Yeah, I agree, man. Edmonton, people, look, the guy's a scumbag, but Evander Kane is a hell of a hockey player.
Well, yeah, it doesn't mean I don't want to like karate chop him in the throat, but
absolutely, he's human garbage, but he's really good. He proved that everything that he's worth. He got that 4-year deal from him in the offseason. He proved his worth during the Stanley Cup playoffs, and like you said, McDavid, he's only going to get better. Draisaitl's continue to develop. I like the Oilers to go over. I think it's going to be possibly significantly more. I think you're going to see them. That Battle of Alberta is only going to heat up even more, man. It's an ugly one. It's a classic rivalry. The Flames a couple years ago went back to their old style, red and yellow jerseys. The Oilers are back to the royal blue and the orange this year. So minus the HD TV and the video boards, this is going to look like a classic 70s line brawl when these two teams play. So certainly going to look forward to that one. I think Edmonton does significantly over that 103 mark. The Florida Panthers, probably one of your biggest surprise teams in the National Hockey League, good or bad. For them, it was the good. 122 points a year ago. This year, that over-under line settles down a bit. They have it at 104.5.
Good friend of mine, super fan, as he goes by down here in what is it now? What is it? FTA? No, FTX. FLA Live. FTX is where the
FLA Live Arena.
I see him walking around with his jersey and his cape, and being the super fan that he is. Talked to him a lot about this team. He likes the addition of Matthew Tkachuk. Hated that it cost them Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar, but I get it. But they're a team that acquired a bunch of guys. Michael Del Zotto, Mark Stahl, but they did lose Ben Sherriott, Claude Giroux, Maximin. They lost some pieces. So the question here is, obviously 122 I don't think's in play.
No, I don't think we're going to see the repeat of that, because here's the thing: they had to have known Giroux. Giroux was a rental. You knew that you were getting him for that run. He did great down the line for him. Obviously, it didn't result in the Stanley Cup.
And here's the thing: Spencer Knight, Sergei Bobrovsky. They both played out of their minds last year. I don't think that gets duplicated.
Yep.
104. Like, this is another one. This is a really good line.
Stay away line.
Yeah, this is the Kyle Nash special. Don't bet it. And that's what I'm going to call it from now on. Anytime there's a line of you don't bet, I'm going to call it the Kyle Nash
Kyle
special.
Nash special.
So we're going to put this one on the Kyle Nash special board. I will take. Just because of how bad I truly believe that the Detroit Red Wings and the Buffalo Sabres are going to be, I will take a very slight over.
Okay. Just to be different, because I think it's going to be close.
I think 104 is that
it
line.
is without a doubt that Kyle Nash special. I'll agree. I'll agree with that part of it, but I'll take that slight under. A lot of movement on this team, in and out. Definitely going to be a new look Panthers, but yeah. One thing we are not going to dispute is that they are not going to get back to the 122.
If they find a way to get back to 122 this year, something fucking crazy happened.
But you'll certainly have to share the show with your buddy down there, Superfan, and get him on board. Listen to this one. And I do want to point out the logo that you see here on the video. We do have that on the Huddle Up store over at tpublic.com. One of 34 great designs over there, so you can get your shirts. Hey, we're going into hockey season, baby. Everybody needs a new hoodie, right?
We
got hoodies over there. We got we got everything you need: t-shirts, mugs, all of that. So make sure you check that out. tpublic.com. You can find the link to that and everything else related to Huddle Up on the link tree on our social media at Huddle Up Podcast on Facebook and on Twitter. We continue on here in the over-unders. The Los Angeles Kings, 99 points a year ago. 95.5, Mike, is your over-under for the Kings.
I don't know what they did to make themselves better.
Not much.
And with that, I guess I have to take the under then, because they didn't really do anything to get themselves better. I mean, their two offseason acquisitions were Toby Paquette-Bessian of the Laval Rockets in the AHL and Phoenix Copley of the Washington Capitals. Like,
who spent the last couple of years in Hershey. So
I mean, I get it. It's Jonathan Quick. It's Cal Pedersen.
It blows me away that Quick is still playing.
It's Ansei Kopitar. It's the guys they have there, but I don't necessarily know that they did anything leaps and bounds to make themselves better. Again, this might be one of those lines, kind of like Edmonton, where it's like they're going to beat up on the Pacific a lot. But I'm still going under. I think Edmonton blows the doors off of this fucking division.
Yeah, 10 years removed from their first Stanley Cup. Jonathan Quick, 37 years old this year. He'll be in January.
This has to be it, right?
You would think, man. It blows me away that he's still in the league. But yeah, I'm right there with you. Like there was more guys going out the door than coming in the door. It's going to be close. Again, they're in one of those divisions where you're heavy at the top with Calgary and Edmonton, but this might be a playoff team. At 94 points, it could be a playoff team that you can sneak in that division. But I'm going to go that slight under. But I think you're going to float. I think 95 is a decent line. I think you're going to be floating right around there for the Kings. All right, we continue on. We go to the land of Thousand Lakes. It's Minnesota Wild. 113 points a year ago. 99.5 is your over-under for the Wild.
The first team that we've looked up that have 3 active goalies on their roster as of right now.
Huh. Are Are you serious?
Yeah. Yes, Mark, I am. Zane McIntyre, Philippe Gustafsson, and then Marc-Andre Fleury. Again, this is another team. They flipped Cam Talbot for Gustafsson. They didn't really do much in free agency. They lost Nick Bjugstad. They lost Jordy Ben. What's the line?
The line is 99.5.
I'm gonna put this one on the big board for the Kyle Nash. Stay the fuck away from it.
Yeah, there's definitely a few of those so far.
Yeah. I'm gonna go slightly under. I just don't know. And maybe this is one of those where, 37-year-old Marc-Andre Fleury, I get it. Gustafson's 24, McIntyre's 30. But if they're going to wield fucking, Marc-Andre Fleury out there more often than not, they're in trouble.
I mean, he's going to be the starter until the wheels fall off. He has to be.
If that's the case, then I am definitely taking the fucking under.
Yeah, dude, like there's talent on this team. They lost some. Every year I want to doubt Marc-Andre Fleury. He just keeps getting better. So this is gonna be the year where I go, all right, you sold me the bill of goods. I'm gonna believe in you. So I'm gonna take the over on Minnesota. I don't think they're gonna get back to 113. I think 100, 102, 103, something like that. So that's my hope that the reverse jinx works again. And everything just Marc-Andre Fleury's legs fall off. Because he was a guy that was rumored to be could have been traded to Washington last year, and he basically said, I don't want to fucking go there. So that guy can kick rocks as far as I'm concerned. Worked out better on our side anyway. But yeah, that's where we leave the old bag of bones, Marc-Andre Fleury and the Minnesota Wild. And we head north of the border once again. Montreal Canadiens last year, 55 points for the Montreal Canadiens, a team that in the bubble playoffs was made it to the conference final. They lost eventually to the Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning, but 2 years removed from a conference championship. Or no, they made it to. I have that wrong. They made it to the finals, I think, the year after when it was the Canadian division, didn't they? Nope, I lied. I think it was in the bubble. They made it to the conference final.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, Montreal Canadiens, the over-under line for this year, 72.5. So they have them improving by almost 20 points.
Is Martin St. Louis coming back to actually play,
or is he shooting up, or is he just
or is he just coaching?
As far as I know, he's still just coach. I don't think he's pulling a Reggie Dunlap from Slapshot.
I mean, if he was, I think the points might be in play.
That's a huge leap.
I don't know necessarily. I mean, they acquired Kirby Dach, but they lose Alexander Romanov. They lose Jeff Petty and Ryan Poling and get Mike Matheson. Like, there's not much.
Madison Bowie added. I mean, decent defender, but
there ain't anything here that's a needle mover.
No. Like, will they be better than 55? I mean,
I think they're better than 55, but I don't know.
You get much worse than 55. You play 82 games. I mean,
and you get 3 points for a win.
Yeah, you get. Yeah, it's. So do you have? I assume you're having the under with these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely agreeing with you on the under. Better than 55, worse than 72.5, which is your line. All right, let's go to Nashville. 97 points a year ago for the Predators. This year they have the line 97.5. So they have them pretty much the same for the Nashville Predators. Mike, what do you think?
Let's see. it's like they just flipped mid.
Basically, I mean, it looks a similar number of guys. I mean, let's see, Nick Cousins gone, Matt Benning gone. You bring in, none of these names are jumping off the page. Mark Jankowski,
Niedermeyer.
yeah, Niederreiter. That's a good acquisition. But it's a lot of middle line filler.
Yeah, I just feel like it's just a lot of mid. And I think that that's something that this team has always done and found a way
They're
to get
great
the
at
most
being
out
average.
of those guys. It all falls back on Saros and Ingram and Net. Saros stood on his head at points last year
Absolutely.
for Nashville. Oh God! Based off of the fact that they're in a division with a really good St. Louis Blues team, a really good Colorado Avalanche team, and a just getting better Winnipeg Jets team, I'm gonna go slightly under.
All right. Well, then I will disagree and go just that slide over. I'm 100% in agreement, Mike, that this team is about where they were last year. Prove to me you're something different. But
Exactly.
yeah, I will agree with that part. I will disagree for the sake of the show. I will disagree on the and I'll give the slide over to Nashville. All right, we go to New Jersey. The Devils last year 63 points. This year, the over-under line on the Devils, 88.5. So a huge jump from one year to the other. Obviously, a goaltender addition. Vitek Vanacek from the Washington Capitals, who I think was the most stable of the two. Eric Holla from Boston. They had John Marino from Pittsburgh in a trade.
I mean, their big acquisition was Andre Palat.
Absolutely, yeah. Andre Palat added. Colton White solid as well. Andrew Hammond as well.
They terminated Kokorian, and they lost obviously PK Subban just recently to retirement. Which
that was a big surprise.
Super shocked about. The Subban one is the one that I like that makes me want to almost take the under. Because I felt like he was like the stability, like the glue.
He was.
So it's one of those where this is one of those that's really weird. Obviously, we talked a little bit about Vanacek being the more stable of the guys. But they're a team that has 3 goalies. Again, they're one of the only teams in the NHL that have 3 goalies on their roster right now. They also have Mackenzie Blackwood, and they have my not cousin but cousin Jonathan Bernier on their roster.
Oh yes.
So he's actually 34. I turned 34 in like 4 days. So it's weird. Like we might be brothers, but we may not be brothers, or we might be cousins. We may not be cousins. I don't know. It's weird. Their point total last year was
63.
And the estimation for this year is 80.
88.5 is your line.
That's such a big jump.
That's a huge jump.
Such a big jump. This just means to tell me that Vegas thinks that the New York Islanders and the Philadelphia Phillies are going to be somewhere between hot and garbage, and it might be disrespectful to hot garbage. I'm going to take the over.
Ooh, okay.
Because I think Palat moves the needle enough.
Okay. I'm going to go slightly under. I think they're going to hit 80 for sure. I think like 83, 84, 85 is in play. But, again, we go back to some of the heavy hitters in that Metropolitan Division. Carolina, Columbus even, the Rangers, the Penguins, the Capitals. I think it's just going to be hard for this team this year to make that big of a leap.
A lot.
I mean, it is certainly a lot. I think for Vitek Vanacek, I want as much success out of that guy as possible. I think he got a bit of a raw deal in Washington. But I think it was also time for the Capitals to move on, and we'll certainly touch on that here in a minute when we get to the Capitals preview. But yeah, I don't see them making a 26 point jump from year to year. So definitely improved, but not quite a 90-point team yet. All right, then we go to the New York Islanders. 84 points a year ago. This year they have the line at 94 and a half. Mike, what do you think?
We went to the Islanders.
This is the Islanders.
The Islanders. All right, let's look at their acquisitions. Acquired Alexander Romanov from the Montreal Canadiens, and then didn't do a whole bunch of anything else. Then Chara retired.
Yeah, also new head coach Lane Lambert promoted after the kind of surprising firing of Barry Trotz at the end of last season. So Lane Lambert, new head coach for the first time, worked under Trotz for years. So I think there's similarities there that you'll see from the Islanders, but definitely some changes too.
Line was what again?
The line last year they had 84. This year the line 94 and a half.
Under.
Yeah, I don't see them getting a whole lot better. Zdeno Chara finally calls it a career at 45 years old. But was still pretty fun for the Islanders a year ago. Nothing really jumps off the page for me. And I think losing. Look, we know what life after Barry Trotz looks like. New York, good luck. We stay in New York, but we get off the island. We go to Manhattan. It is the New York Rangers. Last year, 110 points. And again, one of those surprise teams. The line on this one, they pull them back a little bit, 99 and a half for the Rangers.
I mean, they need to. They traded Alexander Georgiev to Colorado, traded Patrick Nemeth to Arizona, and Lundqvist to the Stars. I get it. They signed guys like Yaroslav Halak, Ryan Stomey, Vincent Trocheck. They made some moves. They didn't really lose many guys, if any. But then there's also some guys here that are just mid.
Yeah.
So again, it's a whole lot of mid. Obviously Luis Domingue from Pittsburgh, Justin Braun from the Philadelphia Trash Cans. That's what they're gonna fucking be. We'll talk about them in a little bit
for sure.
I just don't know. Like, did they sign Yaroslav Halak for him to be the starter? Or are they going to go with?
No, I think he's the backup there.
Is Igor Shekinston going to be the starting goaltender?
Yeah, Sturkin. What a goofy name too. Sturkin's your starter there. Yeah, Halak at 30, soon to be 38, I believe. No, he just turned 37. He'll be 30. He'll turn 38 in the playoff run. But Shesterkin's your starter.
I mean, I guess based off of that, I'm going to take the over.
I think I'm actually taking the under. I
don't love.
It's a hard line because look, last year, Gallant came in. He was the head coach of Vegas for their first 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in and he's very demanding. And he changed the culture in New York. But I think they're going to have trouble recapturing the magic of last year. Like they got hot to start the year and everything felt great. Now they're like expected to be good. That's a whole different world when you're expected to be good. I don't know. There's a lot of youth on this team, and I think there's going to be some growing pains with the roster. So I see them taking a step back. I think they probably still make the playoffs, whether it's the like the number 3 team in the division or if it's one of the wild card spots. But I think that they're going to be in contention. But I see them definitely taking a step back. The Ottawa Senators, 73 points a year ago, 85 and a half is your over under for the Ottawa Senators.
The fuck did they do in the offseason?
They added Alex DeBrincat. They added Cam Talbot. I know they signed Alexander Giroux to a 3-year deal.
Klaus Giroux.
The Claude Giroux, coming, the hometown boy. He's an Ottawa guy. They I know what they lost Del Zotto.
They told Del Zotto to kick rocks. They didn't lose Del Zotto. They were
Basically.
like, get the fuck out.
They bought him out in July. So to me, there's more addition than there was subtraction. I think that the players that they added, and this is a team that was starting to develop a bit last year too. So yeah, what are you thinking?
What is it again, the line?
85.5, up from 73 last year.
I'm going to take the over. I don't think that Tampa is going to be the world beaters that they have been the last couple of years. I think they come back to earth, and I think Ottawa can steal some games from them. Obviously Toronto's Toronto. We'll talk about them in a little while, but that number feels very in play for this Ottawa roster.
Yeah, I like it. I like that a lot. I think Giroux's going to add a level of leadership. I think he's going to bring something to that locker room that's going to kind of really motivate this team to be better, because he's a guy that wants that team to win. This is where I think he's going to close out his career.
Yeah.
So he wants to get the. I don't think he's going to get a Stanley Cup in Ottawa. And maybe
them doing something crazy.
And maybe like in the last year of his deal up there, you see him kind of like he did last year with Philly, where he gets traded at the deadline because he knows it's going to be the end. But he wants to get this team going in the right direction. I think that it starts this year, and I like that over as well. Speaking of the Philadelphia Flyers, 61 points a year ago, Mike. The line on this one, 74.5. I feel like this is one of the easiest ones we're going to do.
How?
I don't know.
How is that line 74.5?
Not a clue. Like, are they assuming that that Tortorella is going to magically like wizard this team into some wins?
They signed basically nobody in the offseason. They lost Oscar Lindblom. They lost Matthew Stromey. Like, there's just nothing here that's like, I gotta have it. Like, there's nothing on this roster that's just like, yeah, this is why we're gonna fucking have a shit ton of points this year. I'm taking the under.
Oh, I'm hammering that under. I think if there's anything that's a lock on this list, I think it's the under with the Flyers. And I'm not saying that because I'm not a Flyers guy. Being here in Pennsylvania and being a Capitals fan, I just think. What was the line about? Who was it? Buffalo? Was it Buffalo? No, it was Arizona. That you got to hit rock bottom before you can start going up.
No, that was Detroit. I think that was Detroit when we were talking about that.
Yeah, maybe, but you gotta
you gotta tear it all the way down before you can start rebuilding.
Exactly.
You can't bet a house on a middle of a pile of shit.
Exactly.
So, I mean, clear shit out.
Exactly. So yeah, I think Philadelphia is going to contend, one of maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 teams that are going to tend for the worst team in the league. Yeah. It's going to be bad. All right, Pittsburgh Penguins last year 103 points. This year the line 101.5.
Fuck them.
Exactly.
Canadian pompous prick. Go back up there, you Canadian pomp. I hate fucking Sidney Crosby with fucking passion. He just has that face. You just want to punch him in the face. I don't know why. It's his face.
It's just there's something about your face.
Something about
makes you want to deliver one of these right in your suck hole.
Yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm gonna go under. Like, they didn't do it. Like, from a non-biased standpoint, like, I don't necessarily know what they did to make themselves better.
Yeah, I think they're right there. They're going to be similar to last year. But if you think I'm going to say that the Penguins are going to do better than expected, you're out your goddamn mind. So give me the under for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Fuck you.
The San Jose Sharks last year, the point total for the Sharks was 77. This year, 75.5 is your line. So they're looking about the same.
I think their roster's looking about the. No, I'm kidding. Um,
Well,
they
they
got
lost
Oscar.
Burns. They lost Brett Burns. Huge, big loss for them.
Yep.
Let's see. They added Nico Sturm from the Avalanche. They
Oscar
added,
Lindblom from the Flyers.
Lindblom was one, definitely a great young talent there. I don't see a ton of outgoing talent with the exception of
No,
Burns. So I feel like that line's pretty close.
I will go. I'm gonna go slightly over.
Just to disagree, Mike, I'm gonna go slightly under. But yeah, I think that
100% play.
I think it's the Kyle Nash special.
Yeah.
Stay away from it. Don't touch it. Because I think it's going to teeter right around 75.5. All right, the Seattle Kraken, year number 2 of the Seattle Kraken. 60 points a year ago, 81.5 is your line for this year.
They definitely improved in free agency.
Absolutely.
Brandon Andre Burakovsky, Cameron Hughes,
Martin Jones, Justin Schultz,
Andrew Pertoliski of Carolina, Michael Kempney, Justin Schultz, both the Capitals. They didn't really lose a lot either.
Yeah, not much. Connor Carrick, is utility defenseman at best. Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely improved. I think Burakovsky is going to be a huge addition to that team.
And they acquired Oliver Bjorkstrand from Columbus in a trade. So,
I missed that one.
Yeah, I'm good with this team being over.
Yeah, I do too, man. I'm right there with you. They added, not only did they add bodies, they added good bodies to this roster.
Yeah, they didn't just fill the roster out to fill the roster out. They went and actually got guys that.
Yeah, and again, they're in that division where you can make moves. There's a lot of play in the Pacific. So I like Seattle. I like Seattle a lot to hopefully make a move here. All right, we go to the St. Louis Blues, 109 points a year ago. The line here has them taking a small step back, 95.5.
The hell happened to them?
So they lost Husso to Detroit. They lost David Perron, who was a huge part of their roster over the last couple of years and part of the reason they won a Stanley Cup. But they added Tomas Greiss. They added Noel Acciari from the Panthers. I don't see any reason that they should take that big of a step back.
I don't see a 3-4 loss difference here. I'm gonna take the over. I mean, unless you're telling me like,
because that's a 15-point swing. Yeah, so you're looking, you're looking 3-4 games. A couple of those overtime games end up as losses instead of wins from a year ago. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking the over on the Blues. I still like this team. Craig Berube still has them going in the right direction. A couple years removed from their Stanley Cup, but yeah, I still like the Blues. Tampa Bay Lightning, 110 points a year ago. They Stanley Cup champions in 2020, 2021 as well. 110 points a year ago, 103.5 is your line for this year. So they definitely added more than they lost. And I'm trying to say, I don't see a lot of losses on the roster. So maybe it's just an incomplete list here. But you add Ian Cole, you add. Oh, okay, I see they have their ins and outs on the same one because you lose Palat.
Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah, this one, if you're looking on Wikipedia, it's set up a little strange. Yeah. So you lose Palat. You add, I think your biggest add is probably Ian Cole. Yeah, I don't think there's a huge turnover. But look, this team's played a lot of hockey over the last few years, man. Like,
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go slightly under just because of the wear and tear on guys like Vladimir Tereshchenko, or not Tereshchenko. Wow, Andrei Vasilevsky. Steven Stamkos, Kucherov. Like they've played a lot of hockey over the last.
yeah, and look, everybody in that division is going to be gunning for him. So yeah, I'm going to agree with you on the slight under. They're still going to be one of the better teams. I mean, Vasilevsky, by all accounts, is, if he's not the best goalie in the world, he's right up there. So
Yeah, if he's not the standard barrier, he's fucking close.
yeah, 100%. All right. Just a couple more teams here for the over-unders. The Toronto Maple Leafs, 115 points a year ago. 107.5 is your line for this year. They bring in Matt Murray. They lose Peter Mrazek. They also bring in Ilya Samsonov. So 2 new goaltenders in Toronto this year. Kalle Yarncroc they acquired from the Flames. Players going out, you lose Colin Blackwell, Jack Campbell. I think those are probably your biggest names that you lose. So a great team that, in my opinion, Mike, I think got a little bit better.
I'll agree with you on that assessment. What I will say is their concern the first 2 weeks of the season is going to be which one of those guys is going to be the starting goaltender. I think that's going to be their concern, trying to figure that out. Also, personally, I don't necessarily know that I believe that John Tavares should be the captain of this team. I think Austin Matthews should be the captain of this team. I think Austin Matthews is what makes this team go. I get it. You gave Tavares all that money, so you kind of forced yourself into giving him the captaincy. I don't think Matthews gives a fuck, but I definitely think that Austin Matthews is the guy that if you're looking at your future, he is the guy that you want. Led your team in goals, led your team in points. I'm going to take the over on Toronto because I do think they got better. Just from a roster standpoint, I think they became better.
Yeah, I think they got better. Now, will they best 115 points, which they did a year ago? That I don't know. But I think they're going to do better than the 107.5 that this line is at. So I will agree and go over for the over-under with the Maple Leafs. All right, 4 more. We got 3 in the West, 1 in the East. We know who that one in the East is. But we will start in Vancouver, British Columbia with the Vancouver Canucks. 92 points a year ago. And Mike, 92.5 is your over-under for this team.
We'll just move this right over to the Kyle Nash. Don't fucking touch it board.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
They acquired mid, but they only lost mid.
Yeah, there's the ins and outs are, again, it's a whole bunch of I've never heard of these players before.
Yeah, except for Yaroslav Halak.
Right, which he's a backup goalie at this point anyway.
Exactly,
so
and you only know that name because of how good he was in the past. It's not because he had a great
correct.
year.
Yeah, he wasn't lighting up the sheets last year.
So they had what was the
92 and 92.5 is your over under for this year. Just don't. They're going to find a way to hit 92.5. Give me a push.
yeah, they're still not going to find a way to get half a point.
How do you get half a point in the NHL?
So the overtime game, we couldn't complete the shootout.
The lights went out. The guy turned the lights off because he was tired of watching.
A mechanical issue, and we had to end the game in a tie. I mean, I think the only real thing they have going for themselves is that they're in the Pacific.
Right.
This division is somewhere between hot and garbage. Fuck. God damn it. I'm gonna go under just because I
And I'll take the over just to be different. I'll take the over just to be different.
Bad.
All right, we go to the desert.
Let's just stay in this fucking division.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm gonna skip over the Capitals because we're gonna talk about them in a little bit longer form. But let's go to Vegas. 94 points a year ago. 97.5 is your over under for this one. So again, basically the same. Now, one major change for the Vegas Golden Knights is their gray uniforms that we've seen them in since day one are now the alternates. The gold uniforms are now their home, which to me should have been the jersey from the start. You're the Golden Knights. You're not the Gray Knights. You're the Golden Knights, and you're in Vegas. So gold should have been it from the word go. That's what we get this year. Looking down over this, you lose Pacioretty. You in a trade with Carolina, you gain Phil Kessel, so he brings fat veteran leadership to the Vegas Golden Knights.
Phil Kessel went from one shit show to another.
There's a bunch of average players that came in. There's a bunch of average players that left. Mike, how do you feel about the Vegas Golden Knights?
They scored how many points last season?
They had 94.
And this season
it's 97.5.
I'm taking the under.
You're going to take the under.
I don't necessarily know where they got 3 points better.
Yeah, I don't either.
Like Phil Kessel's a great acquisition on a 1 year like veteran leadership thing, but Max Pacioretty was like a big piece of their offense last season, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm
just going to be different. I'm going to take just so we have a few more differences in our. I will take the slide over, but I'm kind of in line with you. I don't. But again, a 3-point swing from 1 year to the next really isn't that big of a swing. So I don't. It doesn't necessarily either way jump off the page at me. For Vegas, I still think the craziest thing this team has done in their brief history was fire Gerard Gallant. I know they kind of had a rough start. I think it was in their third year, but that looks to have been a huge mistake that they're still working on recovering from.
Stupid.
Okay. Our last team before we get to Washington, we go north of the border one more time. I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot. And we look at the Winnipeg Jets, 89 points a year ago. Jeez, every team in this division. 89 points a year ago, 88.5 is your line for this year. Let's see, looking down over.
We just put the entire Pacific Division on the Kyle Nash don't fucking bet it board.
Basically, just don't touch them.
And if you do, make sure you wash your hands after.
Yeah, it's dirty. I think Sam Gagner is probably your biggest addition from Detroit. Kevin Stenlund from Columbus is pretty solid as well. Leaving from year to year. Zach Sanford, former Stanley Cup champion in St. Louis, is there. Paul Stastny goes to Carolina. And that's about it. Again, it's a lot of the middle of it seems like every team in that Pacific Division just swap the middle of their lineups to each other.
Yeah, mid replacing mid.
So we're gonna do this again. Whichever one you pick, Mike, I'm going to take the other one.
I'll go under just because I don't necessarily know that I love anything that they've done.
Cool. I'll take the over. I'll say they get right back to 89 where they were last year. So finally, Mike, we transitioned to the team.
You guys show me mid on the fucking Family Feud big board back here.
Yeah, just absolutely just. There's the mid for the
number one answer.
All right, we go to the team that is closest to our hearts, the Washington Capitals. Again, Stanley Cup champions in 2018. They have failed to win a playoff series since the spring of 2018. We are now in year 3 of Peter Laviolette behind the bench. I think this is a pivotal year for this team and for Peter Laviolette. But a summer of change in Washington, and I think this is what that team needed. You saw Vitek Vanacek get traded to the New Jersey Devils, which we heard. Connor Brown gets traded in from Ottawa. the additions, and I'm going to run through all of them here. You add Eric Gustafsson from Chicago, Darcy Kemper from Colorado, of course, Stanley Cup champion a year ago. Charlie Lindgren is going to be your backup goalie. He backed up the Blues and led their AHL franchise, the Springfield Thunderbirds, to the Calder Cup this past year. Henrik Bjorkstrom, Dylan Strome from the Blackhawks, and from the Blue Jackets, you add Gabriel Carlson. Players leaving, you lose Phoenix Copley to the Kings. We talked about him. Samsonov, the other backstop for the Capitals last year, goes to Toronto. Justin Schultz and Michael Kempney both head to Seattle. Brian Pinho goes to the Devils. You lose Johan Larsson, who was in your minor league system. He is playing over in Europe. Shane Gersich is now an AHL only, which Gersich played a little bit in that 2018 playoff run when they needed bodies, but he has basically spent his time in the American Hockey League, so he is pretty much a non-factor either way. So a bit of a new look roster. Nicholas Backstrom, Mike, still up in the air. He had off-season hip surgery, and one of the most unreal things that I have heard, because Nicholas Backstrom, who has been with this team and a part of this team through the tenure of the Ovechkin years, 34 years old, and he did an interview recently after his hip surgery where he's now pain-free, and he said that he's happy to do things like be able to tie his own shoes again. So it's when you talk about hockey players being tough, sometimes we lose sight of exactly how tough these guys are. But no timetable for Backstrom's return. So again, a lot of turnover. This is going to be a different looking Capitals team. Last year they hit 100 points. This year, the over-under line, they have them at 93.5. Mike, where do you think the Capitals are at before you get to your prediction? How do you feel about this team going into the year?
I feel, and here's the thing, 2018, and I don't know if you'll ever get this this conversation out of Nick Backstrom or Alexander Ovechkin, but I feel like, and all pun intended here because of who they beat in the finals, they sold their soul to the devil in Vegas to win the Stanley Cup. And it's proven that with Backstrom being dinged up, and no timetable on his return. Connor Brown won't play at all this year, according to TSN. Carl Hagelin had eye surgery.
He missed most of last year, so
so there's a shot, but there's a shot we get him back early in the year. The one that hurts the most is Tom Wilson, with the ACL injury.
He should hopefully be back January, mid-season. Yeah,
but that's the guy. He's your enforcer. He's your guy that when he's on the ice, people tend to keep their head on a swivel and don't take liberties at guys like Backstrom and Ovechkin that they normally try to do whenever he's not on the ice. I love the acquisition of Darcy Kemper. I think they looked at it as, we have a problem, and the problem is goaltending in the playoffs, and they addressed it by going and getting one of the best available guys in the world. And I think that's the reason why I think that this team, from a standpoint of, if we get B to B plus Darcy Kemper, it's better than A to A plus Vanacek and Samsonov. And I truly believe that. That's nothing against the two guys in net. But I think that's the other thing that you have to look at when you look at the Washington Capitals last year. They didn't do a lot to help the goaltenders out. The defense really just kind of let them have the middle of the ice a lot. It was one of those things where frustratingly sitting there watching pucks get rebound. Oh, they scored. You can't give a team 6 rebounds and not get the puck out. Even if it's an icing, you got to get the puck out at some point.
Just give yourself a minute to breathe.
Reset. And unfortunately, that was something that didn't happen a lot for the guys in red, white, and blue last year. That being said, I'm going to take the over.
Okay.
We got 200 points last year with like C plus goaltending.
Yeah.
We come down points. This is one I truly believe that we're going to hit the over here. I think we're back at that 100 to 103 ish mark. Obviously, our division is going to be one of the toughest ones in hockey, probably ever. You could compare this to, other divisions year to year kind of thing. But with the goaltending here, like if I walked into this season and my starting goaltenders were Vanacek and Samsonov, I'd probably take the under right now.
I agree with you. Yeah, I think they were two guys who were fighting for the same spot, and
they were just kind of mid.
What the line? I forget who. I want to say it was Alan May who does the intermission reports for the Capitals home broadcast. He tweeted out last year that Samsonov makes saves but doesn't make stops.
Correct.
Vanacek made stops but didn't make saves. So like Vanacek was your stay-at-home dude. Like if you come in, it could be a 60-mile-an-hour wrister, it could be a 100-mile-an-hour slapper, but if it's coming at any traditional spot, he's going to be there. He's going to make the stop. But if he has to do something acrobatic, dead in the water. Where Samsonov, he's going to do that one where he does a triple Salchow, stands on his head, and the puck goes off the blade of his skate. Mm-hmm. But you come in there one-on-one and just shoot an average basic bitch wrister, it's going to go past him 9 times out of 10. So yeah, I think the addition of Kemper, and here's the deal, man, the addition of Lindgren, the other goaltender that they added. So it's a brand new goaltender tandem. Kemper's 32 years old. The Capitals signed him to a big deal in the offseason, a 5-year deal. But Charlie Lindgren, 28 years old, has spent some time with the Blues last year, was very good when he played in the NHL, but he also, like I said, he backstopped the Springfield Thunderbirds to the Calder Cup. So he has playoff experience. He's a young goaltender, 3 years old. Now he gets to play. And it feels weird saying this because I remember him as a rookie, but as a 28-year-old hockey player, this guy now gets to play with Alexander Ovechkin, a guy who he watched as like a kid, as a youth. So that's got to be exciting for him as well to have that opportunity. And a team, like I said, he was with one franchise that recently won their first Stanley Cup. He comes to another one who's trying to get back to that same spot. So I like this team. I like this team a lot. Obviously I'm a fan of theirs, so that there's probably some bias there with me. But I think that they're better, and that they have some new faces in town. They have guys that have come, they have guys that came, 2 guys that came from Chicago, 3 guys that came from the Blackhawks organization. They have a guy coming in from the Senators organization. They don't know what it's like to be in a winning organization for a long time, and that's what this team does. So that's going to bring a spark. Absolutely. And then you get Tom Wilson back, who's a backbone of your team midseason. Alex Ovechkin continuing that run, getting closer and closer to Gordie Howe and his goal record. I like the over here as well, Mike. I don't see how.
I guess the real question here, and I guess we can transition to a little more Capitals talk.
I do want to highlight Alexander Ovechkin, currently sitting 780 goals. He is 21 away from second place all time. That's Gordie.
And he's how many behind Gretzky?
He is 114 behind Wayne Gretzky. There's a huge gap between 2 and 1.
Does he get
22 goals? He moves solo into second place all time. That's easily within shot. I think he gets that before the first of the year.
100%.
Absolutely 100%. He's still going to have his office in the playoff, in the penalty shot or power play circle. So yeah, he's going to get there. I think I did the math. When he signed his 5-year deal before last season, he needed to average, I think it was like 38 goals a season over the course of the contract. to be able to beat Gretzky's record, and he got 50 goals last year. So he was 12 ahead of the pace going into going into this season. So obviously it's a thing we're going to continue to monitor. We because of who I am, I always update the Ovechkin goal records when he breaks them. So look for that on our social media pages. But yeah, Mike, let's transition here. The last thing we have to do on this episode is let's look ahead. Let's look at
my question to you before we move on.
Sure, absolutely.
Does he catch Gretzky?
Okay. This year and next year are critical seasons.
I would agree.
Because Alexander Ovechkin
if he puts up 40 both years.
Yeah, if he goes 40 plus this year and I mean, he's going to be okay, he just turned 37. So Father Time is not working well with Ovechkin. And let's keep in mind too.
He also lost.
I've seen people go, like kind of question Ovechkin when he get there. Let's keep in mind that this guy lost his first season in the league to a strike.
Yep.
He lost part of another season in his early career to a strike.
Mm-hmm.
He lost, what was it, 15 or so games in 2020 to the pandemic. And then the next year was a shortened season.
Yep.
To the pandemic. So he has lost
probably 3 full seasons.
3 full seasons plus to strikes and pandemic. If it weren't for those, he may already have the record beaten.
Or he might be going for it this
or
season.
He's damn close. Yeah, he would definitely be in line this year.
Because Gretzky has
look, I'm never gonna bet against Alexander Ovechkin. So for me, I say he's going to get it, but it is critical for him to. I think he's got to do 45 to 50 this year and like 40 to 45 next year. So you got to be because he's like I said, he's 100 plus goals off the mark.
Ovi's got how many?
Let me pull it.
Let
me pull it back up here. He's got 780.
And he's 104. He's 114 behind Gretzky.
Yeah.
If he pulls 80 the next 2 seasons.
Yeah, so at 114, if I can get my calculator to open here, 114. If he gets, I'm gonna put the mark, and it's unbelievable to say this, but at 37 years old, but if he can get 50 this year, that puts him down to 64. So you know what? Let's be a little more realistic. Let's be a little more realistic. He's a little older, Mike. Let's go 45 this year. That puts him at 69. And let's give him, you know what? Let's even count Father Time. Next year, let's go 38 goals next season. That means he needs to come back and do 31 at age 40. To me, that's more than doable.
Yeah.
He has to stay healthy, which again, I know Russian machine never break. But
he needs to take
I'm 37. Look, and I am obviously in nowhere near the physical condition of Alex Ovechkin. But we're getting older. Things get harder as you get older. So he missed a couple of games of injury at the end of last year. There's a lot of wear and tear on that body, man. He has played a long time and he plays super physical. I still say he's going to do it. I will never count against my captain. How about you?
I think he gets there, and I think he plays until. I think he's that guy that wants to play till he gets it.
Yeah, he had, like I said, he has. So he signed a 5-year extension on July 27, 2021. So this is year 2. After this, he has 3 more years. I think he is going to finish out this contract. He's going to finish out his NHL career in Washington. To me, 114 goals over 4 years. is absolutely doable. 114 divided. Wait, it's got to be more than 114, right?
I did the math.
Because that would only make him average 28 and a half for the remainder of his.
Yeah.
How did I lose the? Gretzky's got 890. Yeah, no, you're right. 114 over
28. He
4.
has to average 28.5 goals over the
Yes,
next.
28. That is more than doable. Absolutely
Yeah.
more than doable. But like I said, I think this year's critical. I think you got to go 40 plus because it's only going to get harder every year. It's only going to get harder. But
Correct. Because then his body can start breaking down more
yeah,
missed games due to being just drained.
or yeah, just
Um,
taking a couple of days here and there. So
I think he also needs to take advantage, and this is something where, and Peter, once we get closer to what's going on, he needs to be on the ice with open nets, empty nets when you have a lead, and he's got to be on the ice for those. Steal a couple when you can.
for sure.
And I think his teammates would be those guys that would be like, oh look, Alex, here's an open net. Fucking put that bitch in the back. Let's go.
Yeah, I think you're going to start to see him out on the ice for empty net situations a lot more than you have in previous years. And I think these guys are going to try and feed him the puck as much as possible, which I'm here for.
Yeah, I'm in.
Like, a goal's a goal, man. For the number of games this guy has lost to things out of his control, let's put some stuff back in his control.
Yeah,
Absolutely. All right, Mike. Let's look ahead. Let's look ahead to next summer. I know we just started fall, but let's look ahead to the beginning of next summer. Come Stanley Cup time. Who's picking up the greatest trophy in sports?
I mean, obviously, I want to say it's going to be the Washington Capitals.
I mean, of course we do. So
be
look, we want it to be the Capitals. I think, and I'm being 100% honest. I'm taking the homer glasses off here for a minute. It's more than possible. This is a good roster, especially
this is the best roster they've put together since 18.
Absolutely. And it's not one that jumps off the page as having a ton of superstars. You get Wilson back midseason. Hopefully at some point we get Backstrom back. But Anthony Mantha is going to continue to develop. There's a lot of faith in me with this roster. It is in play. It is absolutely in play. But let's take the Capitals out of the equation. If not the Washington Capitals, who?
I'll be happy as long as it's anybody that isn't that Canadian pompous prick, Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, I don't see them making that run.
No, but looking at it from a perspective of, truthfully on the table, I've narrowed my selections down to 4 teams that I think truly,
Okay.
Outside of the Washington Capital bias, Carolina Hurricanes,
Okay.
the Edmonton Oilers,
Mm-hmm.
the Toronto Maple Leafs. Who's the 4th team? I gotta remember.
Calgary? Is it the Flames?
It may have been Calgary. Let me double check my list real quick on the phone. Yes, it was Calgary.
Okay.
So
basically you have your conference final as Toronto and Carolina, Calgary and Edmonton.
Yep.
Okay.
Battle of Alberta for the fucking Western Conference. Let's go. You know what? It's been a while. I believe Lord Stanley will return north of the border for the first time in a long time.
I mean, if 3 out of your 4 teams in the conference final are of north of the border, you better damn hope it finishes north of the border.
So with that being said, though, I'm gonna go crazy here. I talked about how I didn't love that John Tavares was the captain of this team.
Oh shit!
Sacre bleu. Give me we the North. Give me the 6. Give me the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Dude, I would love nothing more if it's not the Capitals see the Maple Leafs win. We had spent some time in Toronto a few years ago, and like We didn't get to go to a Maple Leafs game because they actually weren't home when we were up there. We went to a Senators game. But man, it's a cool city. Would absolutely, Hockey Hall of Fame's there. Would absolutely love if the Maple Leafs could win. They just have so much trouble. Like they get to the playoffs and they just like hit this roadblock. I like Calgary and Edmonton coming out of the West into the Western Conference Finals. I like the Maple. You know what? No, I'm going to switch that up. I'm going to go. I'm actually going to go St. Louis. I think St. Louis is going to be. I think St. Louis is going to be the pride of their division. It's going to be St. Louis and Calgary in the West in the conference finals. In the Eastern Conference Finals again, because it's not. We're not taking our Capitals in here. Give me the Maple Leafs and give me God, every team I am even thinking of saying I hate. So let me find the one that I hate the least.
I almost put the Florida Panthers in there.
Oh, gross. I can't let that happen.
I didn't say that they were gonna.
I hate I'm fuck Boston. I'll never pick Boston. I don't like Carolina, and I'm like looking at the Rangers because I feel like the Rangers, if they get in, like could be one of those shockers. But fuck the Rangers. So give me Carolina. Give me Carolina versus Toronto in the East, the Blues and the Flames in the West. Sorry, Dad. I'm gonna go Flames out of the West. I'm gonna go Hurricanes out of the East. I just feel like the Toronto's they're going to get close. They're finally going to get a playoff win, but they're not going to get to the finals. And give me the Calgary Flames to win Lord Stanley's Cup if it is not the Washington Capitals. Of course.
So we both have a Canadian team winning the cup if it is not the boys in red, white, and blue.
Absolutely. So it would be the first time since 92-93 with the Montreal Canadiens. That was the last Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup. Now, Canada has seen a Stanley Cup champion crown in the pandemic in Edmonton in 2020, of course, being the Tampa Bay Lightning, but not one of their own teams.
No.
Mike, if you have anything else to add, feel free. Otherwise, let them know where they can follow you. We'll probably maybe do a couple check-ins hockey-wise throughout the season here on the podcast, but obviously a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, appreciate coming on. Appreciate getting to sit down and talk some hockey for a little while. It's fun. We're in the middle of football season and basketball's kicking off and all that fun stuff.
Baseball playoff ready to
I know. So a lot going on, but we're getting ready to drop the puck. Should be a lot of fun coming up here in the hockey season. You can follow me on Twitter at They Call Me Burn. As Jim mentioned in the opening, we are part of the Take 3 Wrestling podcast. If you're a wrestling fan, you can follow the Twitter there. Take the number 3 wrestling. Sometimes I post on there. I'm really the only one that ever really gets on there. Joe, I don't know if he knows how to work the Twitter. And Ernest is a fucking toolbox, so fuck him. See, this is what happens when like friends invite friends on their show, Ernest. They have good rapport. Unlike you. Oh, basketball over-unders. All right, toolbox, whatever you say. But yeah, other than that, guys, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun talking about hockey. Can't wait for the season to start. I'm going to go watch the last 6 minutes of this fucking Sunday Night Football game.
All right, Mike, pleasure having you on. You can always follow me at Big Jim Sports, but really the key is make sure you are following the show. We are at Huddle Up Podcast on Twitter and on Facebook. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, anywhere you can find podcasts. You can do that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Again, 34 different designs. We have the NHL styled logo over at our TeePublic store. We got a Capitals style one over there on our TeePublic store. So make sure you check that out. You can find the link to that and everything else Huddle Up related directly. Each of our social media pages, Facebook and Twitter, you can find the link tree there and get everything you need Huddle Up related. And until next time, we'll be back live because I will get this episode out at the beginning of the week. So we'll be live on Tuesday, October the 4th, our normal 8 o'clock Eastern time on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube live at 8 p.m. Eastern. to go back onto the gridiron and talk about all things football as we do each and every week with Matt and EJ and Kyle. So make sure you check that out. If you enjoy the show, share it with somebody that you think might enjoy it as well, and continue to spread the word, rate and review us. And until next time, stay safe, stay smart, and go for the win.